Welcome to Ink to Gold, a Pages of Possibilities podcast. I'm discussing Steve Black's article, How Do I Use a Decision Journal?
Yeah, it's great to be here. This is one of those topics that really feels like a secret weapon for anyone trying to build something real.
Absolutely. You know, we spend so much time as entrepreneurs talking about the external tools, the CRMs, the marketing funnels, all the hacks.
Right.
But we almost never talk about the operating system that's actually running the whole show.
You mean the founder's brain?
Exactly. The gray matter between our ears. And the fact is that operating system is, well, it's buggy. It glitches.
That definitely glitches.
And if you're like me, you sometimes feel like you're just running in circles. You're putting in 60-hour weeks, making all these decisions. But then you look back and you've tripped over the exact same obstacles you hit 3 years ago.
It is so frustrating. You hire the wrong person again. You underprice a huge project because you're afraid to lose it again.
It's the definition of insanity, right?
It is. But in business, it's harder to spot because every situation looks just a little bit different on the surface.
Right. So you blame it on bad luck or the market. Or you tell yourself, that client was just crazy. We're so good at externalizing failure.
And that's the core idea in Steve Black's article. He talks about debugging your strategic thinking.
I love that metaphor, debugging.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
If a coder's app keeps crashing, they don't just hope it gets better.
No, they open the logs, they look at the code, they find the broken line.
Exactly. But as leaders, we almost never look at the logs of our own thinking. We just keep trying to write new code on top of the old broken stuff.
And that's what Steve brings to this. I mean, he's not just a theorist. He's been building businesses for 40 years.
Right.
And he saw this pattern where these brilliant founders would just repeat the same mistakes for like a decade. Not because they weren't smart.
But because they were relying on memory. And memory is just not data.
Memory is a traitor, isn't it?
It's worse than a traitor. It's a fiction writer. We think it's a video recorder, capturing exactly what happened.
But it's not.
Not at all. It's a storyteller that's constantly editing the footage to make us look like the hero.
Which leads us to what Steve calls the silent killer of strategic growth, hindsight bias.
Ah, yes. The silent killer.
It's a term we hear a lot, but let's break down what it actually does to a business. Why is it a killer?
Well, hindsight bias is basically the mechanism your brain uses to rewrite history. It wants to make you feel consistent and smart.
Okay.
So imagine you make a really risky decision. Let's say you launch a product without doing enough customer research. A total gamble.
Okay, the classic shoot-from-the-hip entrepreneurial special.
Exactly. So if that product succeeds, what does your brain immediately say?
It says, I knew it, I have amazing intuition, I saw the market gap.
Precisely. You're visionary. But what happens if that exact same decision leads to a massive flop?
Oh, well then the narrative totally flips. The market wasn't ready. Our marketing agency dropped the ball. The economy killed it.
You got it. You completely dissociate from the failure. If you win, it was your skill. If you lose, it was just bad luck.
So the bias prevents you from ever admitting that your process, the shooting from the hip, was flawed to begin with.
And you never fix the process. You just get better and better at making excuses instead of making better choices.
That is a terrifying thought. Elite at making excuses. So Steve's solution isn't just, try to be more humble. It's a real tool. He calls it the Action Archive.
The Action Archive. I like the sound of that.
Now, I have to stop us here because I know what people are thinking. Oh, great, another journal. I already have a gratitude journal, a dream journal.
Right. No. This is absolutely not a diary. This is not the place to write about your commute or what you ate.
So throw that idea out.
Completely. Think of this like a flight recorder, a black box for your business brain.
So we're only talking about the really high-stakes professional judgments.
Yes. The decisions that actually change the company's trajectory. Hiring a key person, changing your pricing model, a big product pivot.
The bet the farm moments.
Those are the ones.
And Steve has one rule that's non-negotiable. He calls it the live recording rule. You can't do this at the end of the week.
No, that defeats the whole purpose. If you wait even a day, the outcome starts to warp your memory of why you did it.
You start telling yourself that story.
You do.
Yeah.
You have to capture the raw data of your brain state at the moment of the decision. Before you know if you were right or wrong, you need that cold, hard record.
It's like freezing your logic in amber so you can study it later. So let's get into the mechanics. Steve says this only takes about 10 minutes, 2 paragraphs.
And it's built around 5 specific prompts. These prompts are designed to trap those bugs we talked about.
Okay, let's walk through them. Prompt number 1 is the situation.
This is just about baseline reality. What are the specific observable facts right now? And facts is the key word.
So, not, I feel like sales are soft.
No, it's Q3 revenues down 12% year over year. Or our lead engineer just quit. You have to strip away your interpretation and just list the conditions on the ground.
That's harder than it sounds.
Uh,
Okay, prompt 2, the decision.
Simple enough. What exactly are you choosing to do? I am hiring candidate A. I am raising our prices by 15%.
Okay, now prompt number 3. This is where I think it gets really interesting. The omitted options.
This is often the hardest one to write, but it's maybe the most valuable for learning later.
Why is that?
Because it forces you to acknowledge the multiverse.
The multiverse. Okay, you're getting a little sci-fi on us.
In a way, when we choose a path, we get tunnel vision. We fall in love with our decision. This prompt forces you to write down the 2 best alternatives that you are actively killing.
So if I'm hiring candidate A, I have to write, I am rejecting candidate B, who has more experience, and I am rejecting the option to outsource this to an agency.
Exactly. And you have to say why. Because 6 months from now, if candidate A is a total disaster, you need to go back and see. Was there a good reason to reject the agency? Or were you just biased against freelancers at the time?
It keeps you honest about the trade-offs. You can't pretend there wasn't another way.
It creates that record. And sometimes you look back and realize one of the omitted options was so obviously the better choice, but you were just blinded by something in the moment.
And that leads right into prompt 4, which is where you have to put your neck on the line, the expected outcome.
This is the prediction. You have to write down what you think will happen, usually in about 90 days. But, and this is the kicker, you have to attach a confidence level.
A percentage. 0 to 100.
You have to quantify it. So you write, I am 80% confident that this price increase will not cause more than 5% customer churn.
Why the percentage? Why not just say, I think this will probably work?
Because that's how you calibrate your own internal risk meter. If you look back over a year and you see that every time you wrote 90% confident, you were actually wrong half the time.
Then you have a massive overconfidence bug in your system.
A huge one. You think you're a sharpshooter, but really you're just spraying bullets.
Yeah.
It's humbling, but you need to know that about yourself.
So you can adjust. Maybe your 90% sure feeling is really just a coin flip.
Right. And now for the last one, prompt 5, the emotional context. I feel like this is the one a lot of entrepreneurs would just want to skip. It feels soft.
Yeah, how am I feeling right now?
It feels soft. But Steve argues this prompt gives you the hardest, most actionable data of all.
How so?
Well, go back to the machine metaphor. If a computer is overheating, the code runs differently, right? It slows down, it makes errors.
Okay.
The brain is a biological machine. So this prompt asks, what's the state of the hardware? Are you sleep deprived? Are you angry because a client just yelled at you? Are you terrified about making payroll this week?
So it's capturing all the variables that might be distorting your logic.
Yes. We pretend we're these rational Vulcans making decisions in a vacuum. We're not. We're animals. If you're exhausted, your brain will seek the easiest path, not the best one. If you're scared, your brain seeks safety, not growth.
But in the moment, you don't feel scared. You just feel decisive. You rationalize it.
You rationalize it. But if you write down, I haven't slept in 2 days and I'm stressed about money, and then look back, you start to see the correlation. You might find every bad decision you made last year happened on a Tuesday after a bad night's sleep. That's real data.
Okay, so we have the method. Write down these 5 prompts, but that's not the end of it, is it? The value isn't just in the writing.
No, that's just collecting the data. The whole system hinges on what he calls the judgment audit.
The judgment audit. So this is where the rubber meets the road.
You set a calendar reminder, 90 days out. And when that alarm goes off, you open the journal to that entry, and you compare reality to your prediction.
The day of reckoning.
This is where you actually debug the code. You look at what you wrote. You said you were 90% sure. Were you right? And if you weren't, why not?
Let's use the specific scenario from the article because I think it makes this so clear. The pricing decision that a lot of us have faced.
Ah, yes, the strategic discount scenario. A classic case of misdiagnosing the bug.
So lay it out for us. What's the situation?
Okay, so an entrepreneur has a client on the hook, but the client is really pushing for a lower price. So the entrepreneur decides to offer a massive discount to close the deal.
And in the journal, under the decision, he writes, offering a 25% discount. But what does he tell himself is the reason?
He calls it strategic entry. He says, I'm doing this to get a foothold in a new market. It's a loss leader. Sounds very smart and strategic, right?
Very MBA, yes. So fast forward 90 days, the audit alarm goes off. What's the reality?
The reality is the client is a total nightmare. The margins are gone because of the discount, and there was no strategic foothold. It was just a bad, low-profit deal.
So he looks at his journal. He sees his expected outcome was totally wrong. But
Yeah.
then he looks at prompt 5, the emotional context.
And there it is. In his own handwriting, he didn't write, I am feeling bold and strategic. He wrote, cash flow anxiety is high. I am worried about covering overhead next month.
Wow. That changes everything.
It changes the entire diagnosis. He thought his problem was bad pricing strategy. But the journal shows the truth. The bug wasn't his pricing model. The bug was that he makes terrible long-term decisions when he's panicking about short-term cash.
He traded his standards for immediate anxiety relief.
Exactly. So the fix isn't read a book on negotiation. The fix is build a 6-month cash buffer so I never have to make a decision out of desperation again.
That's a huge shift. You go from fixing a symptom to fixing the root cause.
You stop reacting and you start leading. And you only get there because the journal forced you to admit you were scared instead of letting you pretend you were just being strategic.
And this leads to the ultimate goal, what Steve calls strategic velocity. It's not just about avoiding mistakes.
It's about getting faster and better at the same time. Speed comes from trust. Not blind trust, but verified trust in your own process.
So after 6 months or so of doing this, you start to see your own patterns, your blind spots.
You know your tells.
Right.
And when you trust your process, you can move faster. You don't have to agonize for weeks because you have a system for learning, win or lose.
And the article mentions another huge benefit. You start to be able to tell the difference between a bad process and a bad break.
This is so liberating. We tend to judge all our decisions by the outcome. If it worked, it was a good decision. If it failed, it was a bad one.
But that's just not true, is it?
No, it's dangerous thinking. It's like poker. You can play a hand absolutely perfectly, make the right bet based on the odds, and still lose to a lucky card in the river.
That's a bad break, just bad luck.
And you can't fix luck. If your journal shows your logic was sound, you consider the alternatives, and it still failed. You can sleep at night. You don't need to change your entire strategy.
But if the journal shows you cut corners...
If it shows you let your ego take over, or you made a call because you were just tired and hungry, that is a bad process. And that is something you can fix.
The journal helps you tell them apart.
It becomes your mentor. And it's a mentor that cannot be fooled and refuses to lie to you.
So for anyone listening who feels like they're working so hard but just staying in the same place, this is the tool.
It was probably the highest ROI activity you can do. You're building a proprietary database of your own wisdom.
So here's the challenge for this week. Think of one major decision on your plate right now. Firing a vendor, dropping a feature, hiring someone.
Don't just let it swirl around in your head. Capture it.
Open a journal paper, digital, doesn't matter, and just answer the 5 prompts. 1, the situation. Just the facts.
2, the decision, what are you actually doing?
3, the omitted options, what are you saying no to?
4, the expected outcome. And don't forget that confidence percentage.
And 5, the emotional context. How's the hardware running?
And then set that calendar reminder, 90 days. Treat it like a meeting with your future self. It's that important.
That's the practice. Try it this week and see what happens. Subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop, and visit pageofpossibilities.com for more journaling practices designed for entrepreneurs. Link to the full article is in the description.